The story begins by showing the scene on August 4, 1926. A ship attendant walked into a visitor's room to find a note and some photos. The note read, "Sorry, please send the suitcase home," and the room was empty except for the belongings left behind. The attendant's discovery set off a chain of events that would unravel a mysterious disappearance and leave everyone involved questioning what happened. The ship's officer was quickly notified, and he immediately went to the deck to investigate. To his surprise, he found a pair of shoes on the edge of the ship's fence, and there was no sign of the person who left them there. The officer panicked and blew his whistle, signaling that something was amiss. Meanwhile, the story shifts back to 1921 in Korea, where a group of Korean students studying in Japan plans a tour of drama and music performances in Joseon. Their goal is to raise funds for their association and preserve Joseon art. Kim Woo-jin, a charismatic and intelligent leader, heads the group. During their planning, a man dressed as a woman suddenly appears and jokingly scolds his friends for not including more women in their plans. Hong Non-pa, one of Woo-jin's colleagues, calms the situation by assuring everyone that they will find other women to join them. In another part of the story, Yun Sim-Deok practices her singing, hoping to become a successful artist. Non-pa offers her the opportunity to join their agenda, but Sim-Deok is hesitant. She eventually decides to go and meet with Woo-jin, who is reading a book. They begin a heated discussion about the book, and their conversation hints at a possible romantic connection between them. When Sim-Deok was about to leave, when Non-pa greeted her and introduced her to Woo-jin. As she was getting ready to leave, Woo-jin invited her to join them for Joseon. Initially, Sim-Deok refused, but Woo-jin cleverly explained and eventually convinced her with two conditions: to only sing and to stop immediately in case of danger. Sim-Deok agreed, and the sorority accepted her with her terms. After returning from college, Woo-jin received a letter from his father, which left him silent. The letter emphasized that it was time for him to comply with his father's wishes after graduation. The next day at the campus building, Sim-Deok showed her singing to associates, and they were all stunned by her performance. They applauded, but Woo-jin did not. Instead, he invited friends to rehearse drama performances and ignored Sim-Deok, which made her annoyed. During their rehearsals that day, students from Japan were also involved to avoid any misunderstandings while staging the drama. When Sim-Deok left the building for lunch, she noticed a mysterious man who seemed to be secretly stalking their activities. Upon arriving at the cafeteria, Sim-Deok felt a bit hesitant as she saw Woo-jin sitting alone, eating his lunch. She didn't want to intrude on his solitude, but there were no other empty benches available. So, she hesitantly approached and sat next to him. After a few moments, Woo-jin finished his meal and began to leave, but Sim-Deok impulsively grabbed his hand, needing to ask him something. To her surprise, Woo-jin was momentarily speechless as Sim-Deok began to ask him about his eagerness to perform in the show for Joseon, despite his condition. She also questioned why he seemed to underestimate her during his singing performance earlier. Woo-jin's answers were thoughtful and wise, and Sim-Deok left the cafeteria with a newfound respect for him. The next day at the training ground, Sim-Deok learned from a friend that Woo-jin's spirit was limitless and that he had even helped fund their rehearsal. Later that night, Sim-Deok found herself unable to sleep, thinking about Woo-jin and his passion for the show. Days passed without any interaction between them, and Sim-Deok eventually asked one of Woo-jin's friends about his whereabouts. She soon discovered that Woo-jin was sick, and without hesitation, she made her way to his boarding house with some food. Upon arriving, she found Woo-jin sleeping and decided to tidy up his books. As she did, she stumbled upon some writing that revealed the pain he was feeling. She learned that he had named his script Susan, and this discovery surprised her. Sim-Deok immediately put her plan into action and prepared some porridge for Woo-jin, hoping to help ease his discomfort. The next day, Myung-hee asks Woo-jin how he's doing, and he thanks her for the special meal that someone sent him. Sim-Deok overhears their conversation and it brings a smile to her face. Later that night, as they walk home together, Woo-jin confides in Sim-Deok about his leave from practice. He explains that it's the anniversary of his mother's death and he's been struggling to cope with the pain. Sim-Deok listens attentively and understands the depth of his sadness. She learns that Woo-jin was abandoned by his mother at a young age, and he has no memories of her. This revelation helps her understand why he missed practice, as he needed time to mourn. The following day, while they are practicing, Japanese soldiers approach them. The situation quickly escalates, and one of the soldiers nearly shoots Woo-jin. Luckily, some Japanese students intervene and help them out. After the incident, the group is shaken and afraid to continue training. Some even suggest giving up on their performance. But Sim-Deok speaks up, encouraging everyone to continue their training and not give up on their dreams. Her words inspire them, and Woo-jin can't help but admire her courage. The next day, the group trains with renewed energy and enthusiasm. It's their last day of rehearsal before heading off to Joseon for their 10th performance tour in Gyeongsang City. They take a group photo to capture the moment, and all of them look happy and proud of their hard work. The following day, Woo-jin and Sim-Deok are traveling by sea to their homeland. Sim-Deok is filled with enthusiasm while telling stories to Woo-jin. They are on their way to start their show in the first city, and after each event, they distribute brochures to promote their upcoming shows. Finally, they reach their last show, and they travel by train to the destination city, all looking very tired. During the train ride, Sim-Deok falls asleep and rests her head on the day of their final show. The crowd is huge, and even a Japanese policeman is among the spectators. After their drama performance, it's time for Sim-Deok's singing performance. She is very nervous and asks Woo-Jin to be by her side so that she doesn't get too nervous. Despite her anxiety, she delivers a beautiful performance, and everyone claps for her. That night, they celebrate the success of their show at an entertainment venue. Woo-Jin is talking to Myung-hee, but he keeps glancing over at Sim-Deok, who is laughing and having a great time. Later, when everyone is dancing, Sim-Deok plans to invite Woo-Jin to dance with her, but just as she is about to do so, Non-pa comes up to her and invites her to dance. Non-pa seems to be blocking Sim-Deok from getting close to Woo-Jin, and Sim-Deok looks disappointed. Shortly after, tensions rise when the Japanese police arrest Woo-Jin, suspecting him of being an associate chairman. The drama's storyline, which implicates the Japanese police, does not sit well with them. Woo-Jin is taken to the local police station where he is tortured. Sim-Deok, who is worried sick about him, tries to visit him but is unable to meet him. Days go by, and Sim-Deok is unable to see Woo-Jin. However, she finally catches a glimpse of him as he is released from prison. Seeing him in such a state breaks her heart, and she cries. That night, Sim-Deok takes Woo-Jin to her house to tend to his wounds. The moment they spend together leads to some misbehavior between them. The next day, Sim-Deok takes Woo-Jin on a walk, and they spend the day together. During their time together, Sim-Deok asks Woo-Jin about the name Susan in his inscription, to which he reveals it is his pen name when writing. Sim-Deok then takes Woo-Jin to a grand performance hall, expressing her desire to become the best Korean soprano singer and asking if he would come to watch her perform there someday. Woo-Jin agrees, and Sim-Deok invites him to have a meal together, unable to resist her attraction to him. After their impromptu torch-throwing session, Woo-Jin and Sim-Deok find themselves running from a herd of Japanese police officers. While hiding, they share a tender moment that almost leads to a kiss. As they wait for the shuttle home, Woo-Jin invites Sim-Deok to spend the day with him and his family at their house in Mokpo before leaving for Tokyo the next day. Sim-Deok accepts, and they part ways for the night. On the way back to her lodgings, Sim-Deok buys a beautiful hat in anticipation of meeting Woo-Jin's family. The next day, she arrives at the carriage beautifully dressed and wearing the hat, eager to make a good impression on Woo-Jin's family. Upon arriving at Woo-Jin's house in Mokpo, Sim-Deok is surprised to learn that he comes from the wealthiest family in town. But her shock is nothing compared to what she feels when a stunning woman greets Woo-Jin, announcing that his father is waiting inside. Sim-Deok is heartbroken to realize that Woo-Jin is married. Despite her sadness, Sim-Deok spends the day with Woo-Jin and his family, but that night she quietly leaves, leaving behind the hat she bought as a symbol of the beautiful day that could have been. The following day, Woo-Jin's colleagues gathered together to leave Mokpo, but Woo-Jin stayed behind at his family's house. He was summoned by his father, who disapproved of his son's passion for literature and ordered him to take over the family business. With no other choice, Woo-Jin reluctantly agreed. In his private room, his wife handed him Sim-Deok's hat that she had left behind, leaving him feeling conflicted. Months later, Woo-Jin had completed his studies in Tokyo and was about to return home to Joseon. While wandering the streets, he unexpectedly ran into Sim-Deok and they ended up sitting together. She expressed her gratitude to Woo-Jin for everything and revealed that she would soon be returning to Joseon. As they walked together, they saw a newspaper headline reporting the tragic suicide of Takeo Arishima and his forbidden love. Woo-Jin realized that the fear of loneliness must have been what drove them to such a desperate act. When they said their final goodbyes, Sim-Deok firmly held out her hand, bidding farewell and wishing Woo-Jin all the best. He reciprocated her gesture and they parted ways, each heading towards their own future. 5 years have passed, and Woo-Jin has become the chairman of his father's company. One day, he reads a newspaper article announcing that Yun Sim-Deok, a famous singer, will be performing at a grand building in Joseon. This triggers memories of his promise to Sim-Deok from years ago. He decides to attend her performance. As Sim-Deok takes the stage, she sings beautifully, captivating the audience. However, when she finishes, she goes silent. Suddenly, she sees Woo-Jin in the crowd, watching her. But he quickly turns away. Despite her sadness, Sim-Deok leaves the stage and chases after him. In the middle of the crowd, she manages to catch up to Woo-Jin. They hold each other silently in tears. After years of holding back their longing, Sim-Deok finally admits her feelings for him. Not wanting to lose the moment, Sim-Deok invites Woo-Jin to chat with her. They walk and talk, enjoying the night. Sim-Deok confides in him that she can never forget him, and their reunion on that stage made her even more nervous and erratic. But Woo-Jin kindly comforts her, saying that he feels the same way. As they part ways, Sim-Deok promises to always send him letters and wait for his response, encouraging him to return to writing. The day after her magnificent performance, Sim-Deok heads to the Gyeongsong broadcast station to collect an award for her singing. As she arrives, she is greeted by compliments from the leader there, which she gracefully accepts. After collecting her award, she heads back home and hands over the small number of wages she earned to her mother for household expenses. Her mother is a little surprised by the small amount, but Sim-Deok reassures her that it is fine. That night, Sim-Deok finds herself unable to resist her longing for Woo-Jin and decides to write him a letter. She wants to pour out her feelings, but instead, she chooses to reminisce about the happy memories they shared together. She writes about her good self, not wanting to burden him with her troubles. She hopes that Woo-Jin is doing well and tells him that he is always in her thoughts. Woo-Jin receives the letter and feels a deep sense of happiness. He is glad that Sim-Deok still thinks of him and writes back, telling her about his daily life. He talks about how he has gotten used to the activities he doesn't like, which include managing his father's business, and how he still manages to write reviews, poems, and dramas for literary magazines. He tells her that she is his source of inspiration and entertainment. In the end, Woo-Jin reveals his deep longing for Sim-Deok and asks what he should do with his feelings for her. Sim-Deok is overjoyed to receive the letter and reads it with a smile on her face. However, her happiness is short-lived when her parents call her to offer her to a wealthy man who has taken an interest in her. They hope that she will marry him and provide financial support for the family, including her younger siblings who want to go to college. Her parents apologize for putting her in this position but explain that they need her help. Sim-Deok is left in a dilemma and feels a deep sense of sadness. Shortly thereafter, Sim-Deok rushes to Woo-Jin's residence where the two lovers finally meet. Overwhelmed with emotions, Sim-Deok immediately hugs Woo-Jin. While crying, she tells him about a man who offered to meet all their family's needs if Sim-Deok agrees to marry him. However, Sim-Deok begs Woo-Jin to forget everything and take her away with him. A confused Woo-Jin is torn between his love for Sim-Deok and the reality of their situation. Unable to decide, he holds back his tears and remains silent. One night, Woo-Jin receives a letter from Sim-Deok, and as he reads about her sad days, he sheds a tear. The next day, Woo-Jin's father's man reports that there is an incoming letter addressed to Kim Soo-san. His father, who knows that Woo-Jin has been using Soo-san's pen name, is angry and confronts him. Despite having obeyed his father's wishes, including marrying the woman of his choice, Woo-Jin finally speaks up and exhales the inner pressure he has been feeling. That night, with a chaotic heart and mind, Woo-Jin writes in his personal space while drinking and smoking. The next day, he receives a call from someone who has no voice, and he suspects it is Sim-Deok. As it turns out, it is indeed Sim-Deok, and the two express how much they need and miss each other. The next day, Woo-Jin's father discovers that his son hasn't returned home. Worried, he goes to his private room and finds a letter from Sim-Deok in his drawer. Furious, he reads the letter and learns about their relationship. Meanwhile, Sim-Deok meets someone from a music label who offers her a recording contract. The value of the contract is enough to pay for her sister's college tuition, so she accepts it. On her way home that night, Sim-Deok is surprised to see Woo-Jin waiting for her. He approaches and hugs her with longing, telling her he doesn't want to leave her side. He invites her to go to Tokyo with him, and she happily agrees. That night, Woo-Jin leaves home and they part ways, knowing they will soon meet again to leave for Tokyo together. However, when he returns to the house the next day, he finds that his father has burned all his letters and writings. His father asks him why he's leaving, and when Woo-Jin confesses that it's because of Sim-Deok, his father becomes furious. Woo-Jin declares that Sim-Deok is very valuable to him and they will leave together and never come back. Suddenly, his father's heart disease relapses, and he tells Woo-Jin to leave immediately. Woo-Jin goes to his wife, apologizes for everything, and asks her not to forgive him. In the meantime, Sim-Deok has made a life-changing decision not to go through with her arranged marriage to the man who likes her. Though her parents are worried about the family's financial situation, Sim-Deok reveals that she has secured a recording contract with a Japanese music label that will pay for her younger sister's college tuition. At a nightclub, Sim-Deok meets Lee Young-moon, who offers her a contract with his music label. During a meeting with Young-moon's supervisor, he learns of Sim-Deok's family's financial struggles and offers to help finance her sister's education, recognizing it as a valuable investment. The following day, Young-moon's supervisor meets Sim-Deok at her house to discuss the details of the contract and financial assistance. Sim-Deok is grateful for the opportunity and touched by the generous offer of help. Young-moon's boss tells her that if she ever has free time, he would love for her to perform at their company events. On the other hand, Woo-Jin is bidding farewell to his colleagues at work, preparing to leave everything behind. The scene switches to Sim-Deok's younger brother's college, where rumors are circulating about her. It is rumored that Sim-Deok sold herself to Young-moon's boss in exchange for her singing career. Her brother approaches her to ask about it, and Sim-Deok is heartbroken that her siblings would believe such a thing. She explains that she only sings to repay Young-moon's superior's kindness, but the rumors have made her situation worse. Her singing schedule is cancelled, and she is insulted by residents who see her. One day, Sim-Deok is approached by Japanese government officials who want her to meet their leader. She is unwilling but forced to go, and upon arrival, she is disrespectfully offered a job as a singer or guest artist. Initially, Sim-Deok refuses, but she is threatened with her family's safety, leaving her with no choice. Back home, her parents encourage her to accept the offer as they have no money left. However, her siblings forbid her from doing so, leading to a heated debate. Sim-Deok is torn between her family's financial needs and her own values. Later, her younger sister informs her of a letter from Woo-Jin, which makes Sim-Deok cry. In the letter, Woo-Jin urges her to go to Japan immediately. As Sim-Deok faces this dilemma, she is reminded of the kindness and support of those around her, even as she struggles to make the right decision for her family and herself. The next day in Tokyo, Woo-Jin receives news from his wife that his father is sick and won't eat until Woo-Jin returns home to run the company. Despite feeling sorry for his wife, Woo-Jin firmly tells her not to get her hopes up as he cannot abandon his passion and dreams again. Later, Woo-Jin visits his friends at a building where they used to prepare theatrical plays. He reveals that he used to be a theatrical story writer and they plan to call him again. As he walks home, Woo-Jin is consumed by his inner turmoil, torn between fulfilling his father's wishes and following his own heart. The following day, Woo-Jin and Sim-Deok cross paths in Tokyo. They embrace each other in a gloomy atmosphere and talk about their current situations. Woo-Jin informs Sim-Deok that he must go home to Joseon, which is a sign that they will never meet again. Similarly, Sim-Deok tells him about her forced guest singing role for the Japanese government and how it's killing her soul. The story continues with Sim-Deok reflecting on her initial meeting with Woo-Jin, where she saw him reading a book by Takeo Arishima. The melancholic atmosphere surrounding them led Sim-Deok to understand why Takeo had chosen to end his life due to his circumstances. As they conversed, the two seemed to come to the realization that they must choose their own path in life, even if that path leads to death. Later, Woo-Jin's friend visits his boarding house and finds a note left by Woo-Jin, instructing him to meet in Osaka in 5 days. In the following days, Woo-Jin and Sim-Deok spend their time together, enjoying each other's company and embracing the fleeting moments of their new lives. One night, they share a poignant moment at an inn as Woo-Jin writes his final script, and Sim-Deok holds him in a warm embrace while they reply to verse poems. On the day of the recording in Osaka, Sim-Deok is accompanied by her younger sister who plays the piano. After the recording, Sim-Deok asks to sing a song called Hymn of Death to the label, which they accept. The recording is completed, and Sim-Deok and her sister head to the ship, but before boarding, Sim-Deok tells her sister to go home first. As her sister leaves, Sim-Deok is overcome with loneliness and says goodbye with a heavy heart. Meanwhile, Woo-Jin's colleague arrives at the address he was given to retrieve the last writing from Woo-Jin. As he reads it, he feels as though it was Woo-Jin's final farewell to the world. Meanwhile, Woo-Jin and Sim-Deok, looking handsome and beautiful, head to the ship where they will soon depart. When asked by the ship officer for their names, they give the names Kim Soo-san and Yoon Soo-san. With everything in place, they board the ship and sail into the night. When the ship moves forward, Woo-Jin appears to be writing something down, perhaps his final thoughts. In the middle of the night, he and Sim-Deok venture out onto the deck of the ship. There, they take off each other's shoes and dance together under the stars, their embrace growing tighter with each passing moment. Finally, their lips meet in a passionate kiss, sealing their love for eternity. But tragedy strikes as the two lovers make their decision to live with death. They jump off the ship, embracing each other tightly as they plunge into the depths of the sea, never to be seen again. It was a bittersweet end to their love story, a tale of two hearts entwined but doomed to never be together in life. The moral of the story is to always bring your own shoes to a dance party on a ship, because you never know when you'll meet a handsome stranger who wants to dance with you all night and then jump off the ship with you.